art cannot exist without void. So void is very important. And I have found a great amount of humor in the most inappropriate places. I feel it's also my responsibility to show you how we can make this beautiful. Whenever entertainment has thought that they have cracked a formula, the laws of averages hits and there is a churn again. I identify myself as a storyteller.
It's wonderful to have you on the Indian Express.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. As we spoke earlier, Indian Express has always been close to my heart. So always lovely to chat with Indian Express.
Thank you so much. So that's really sweet of you. So without further ado, let me start by asking something. Uh, in a very short span of time, from being a theater actor to working in some critically acclaimed movies, and then becoming one of the most sought after directors of the Hindi film industry. How has the journey been like for you?
I thank you so much for those lovely words. Yes, it does seem like a very short span for me, but my journey started a little earlier. It started uh, almost a decade ago in Bombay theatre, and I continue doing theatre. I can't do it as often as I used to because of my commitment towards my company, Leo Media Collective, and my directorial responsibilities. But for me, I don't see it as a journey of an end because I'll do it for the rest of my life. So I don't care to see how long away I have come from where I started because for me, it's not even the midpoint from where I want to be. I'm very happy and find myself very lucky that I can tell my stories because that's the most important thing for me. Whether it was as an actor or now it is as a director, writer, and producer, for me, it is wonderful that other people are paying money for it, and there are enough people watching it. So as long as both those things are available, I'll be very happy as a producer.
Great. Have you on the subject? Uh, do you identify yourself as an actor or a director first?
I identify myself as a storyteller. Depending on the role that is required of me in that particular story, I am very happy to lose myself within that role. So when I'm acting, I don't even for once consider myself as a director of that particular project or think about it. Oh, if I had written it, I would have done it differently. I fully commit myself to the art of acting and fully immerse myself only in that form. Similarly, when I'm directing, I'm never second guessing my actors in terms of how would I do it if I were acting. I always trust them and I always try to help them from a directorial point of view and not an actor to an actor point of view. And I'm lucky that I can compartmentalize my mind or my mind compartmentalizes itself like that because I don't have any conflict within me while I'm telling a story of would I have done it differently if I was not in this chair but in the opposite chair. Uh, and honestly, I love acting, but I I'm not crazy about the life of an actor, which I see very closely in and around my friends. It has just too much of time of nothingness in between. You could be the most busiest actor in the industry, and you'll still have a lot of time where not much is happening because you're not the creator of the story. You're the mouthpiece of the story. You're the medium of an audience for that story. So I'd rather have my mind churn out stories while they still have stories that are relevant. There will be a time my stories will not be relevant, then I'll quietly act or produce. But till then, I'm very happy writing it.
So where does the inspiration come from for your stories? What's the
I think more than anything, it's a question I'm still you know deciding for myself where does it really come from, and I think I'll have an answer in the next 40 years. But for now, I feel stories or any kind of art form really comes from void. I think void is very important for an artist to feel that there is a need to say this to fill that void. And I think in my example or in a lot of my peers, whether they are writers, whether they are actors, I find most of them probably had very introverted childhoods. So the way they were able to tell their stories or their voices were really their art forms. And I don't mean this only for the business that I'm particularly involved in. I mean this for all art forms. I feel art cannot exist without void. So void is very important for you to have something to fill that with, and that's where entertainment comes. That's where conversation comes. That's where storytelling comes.
Now, so talking about the shows and movies that you have directed, so many of your work actually, I've noticed that they showcase a social fight with love in the backdrop of a dysfunctional family and a very subtle social messaging in between. And this holds true for your first show, Bang Baja Barat, or even Bandish Bandits, or Majama for that matter. So, is this intentional? Like, do you make sure that these elements are present in your work?
Yes, absolutely. See, there's a wonderful saying, and I don't mean this in its most extreme form, but I think Oscar Wilde said it, and I could be getting the author of this quote wrong. Uh, Said, "Tell them the truth and make them laugh, or they will kill you." So I feel if you want to, the job of that's my personal opinion, that the job of a storyteller or an artist is not to just show the society as it exists, because you can never have an unbiased opinion of the society you live in. The fact that you put your lens a particular place and you show a particular aspect of the society, you're already creating a bias. So it's very difficult to devoid your bias from the world that you live in, or the society that you're living in, or the culture that you're engaging with. So my way of dealing with that is through entertainment, whether it is music, laughter, romance, drama, uh, and everything in between and everything together, because we come from masala storytelling, not just in our film but also in our theater and also in the folk stories that we say. So my way of taking relevant social topics forward is to have a lot of entertainment around it, a lot of masala around it, because that's how we like our food, and that's how we like our stories. And that has been true. If you look at folk theater of India, they've always talked about, there's always been spaces, whether you take Maharashtra. I'm a born and brought up Mumbai boy, so I understand Marathi theater very well. If you look at Marathi folk theater, the Vidushak in every folk storytelling would always say something very relevant to that time. And depending on the time, the Vidusha would keep adding, and the village that they would go to, the relevance would keep changing. And they would keep adding the current affairs into their storytelling, while the overall story remained the same. Same with Dastan Gui, जो एक Iranian storytelling form है. So Persia में they used to have these dastan goo that used to go around and tell stories. In India also there are some amazing dastan goos who tell stories, and they will always make the age-old stories relevant for today by just adding a little spice of today. That's what I try to do for now. I might have a very different opinion in 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. But for now, the kind of storyteller teller I am, that I really like putting a lot of masala around some of the key things that I would like people to look at, notice, even if they don't want to have full opinions. In my opinion, the kind of people I have met in India, being an Indian, I feel there is a certain kind of philosophical take of life that we all have. And I have found a great amount of humor in the most inappropriate places in people that I grew up with. So it could be my growing up that I find that in the most serious of situations, Indians, we react to things in a mixed form. We don't react to things in a drabby, boring form. So my stories cannot be treating a subject with a seriousness that like kind of weighs it down rather than uplift it. Because at the end of the day, I want to tell stories that give you, the audience, a hope that things can be better. If I show you the mirror, I feel it's also my responsibility to show you how we can make this beautiful. I don't need to coach you that, but together we can find a utopian place where it could be slightly more beautiful. So that's where I keep my lens. But I am very happy to look at dysfunctional families and talk about whether it is Bang Baja Bharat or Bandish Bandits or Majama or Love for Square Foot. There's always been a dysfunctional family angle to all these stories because I myself come from somewhat a dysfunctional family. So, and everybody I've met around me has some amount of dysfunctionality to it. That's what makes our families so special. We also, most of us come from very well knit families that we can't get rid of from our lives. So, no matter how much individuality and so on and so forth gets gets dialed into our modern systems, families and that fiber is very, very important to us. So hence my stories regenerate that, regurgitate that in their own, fun forms.
Post pandemic, because during pandemic, people started watching really good OTT content. So post pandemic, it's our observation, but selective films have worked in theaters. So are we in the middle of a churn? Or if your answer is yes, then what is the way forward?
I think we're always in the middle of a churn as far as entertainment goes. Whenever entertainment has taken itself too lightly, whenever entertainment has thought that they have cracked a formula, the laws of averages hits and there is a churn again. So I don't remember a time, and I've been dealing with as a cinephile or as a theater film watching cinema and theater. I've never been in a time where I haven't felt this certain amount of churn, and the churn could be of all kinds and ways. And we could think of certain kinds of films doing well, but there is a Zara Hatke Zara Bachke doing so well at the box office that nobody would have thought that would do so well, because mostly these films are now made for OTT. And here was a film that was released in theaters and did brilliantly well and outdid a lot of other films that were probably thought that they would do better numbers. And there are better experts to deal with that topic. But I don't think anybody I have met who's of any repute or any kind of real understanding of cinema or of content in general will really tell you that they know exactly what will work. Because whether it is the bigwigs of Hindi cinema that one gets to deal with, or whether it is the heads of OTT platforms, the best of them are actually absolutely nervous about every content piece, and they just hope that people enjoy it. And we don't know. We try our best. We absolutely try our level best to make a good piece of content. And everybody starts talking about all the variables that gets it right and gets it wrong, but nobody knows. So I'm as much in the dark as you are.
Talking about good content, we loved watching Majama.
Thank you.
So, it was so heartening to see Madhuri Dixit, an icon like Madhuri Dixit, playing a lesbian in Majama. So, how did you come up with the idea of casting her for the role of Pallavi? And also, please share your experience working with her.
Sure. So I'll divide my answer into the two parts. Uh, why did we think of Madhuri ma'am to play the type the character of Pallavi and explore her past in a way where her sexuality is also explored? Uh, I wanted the story to reach households that wouldn't talk about uh, sexuality or gender politics in their household as general conversation, not in the right spirit for sure. I was looking for a quintessential Indian woman to play this. I couldn't have thought of anybody but Madhuri, honestly. Because if I were to tell you that, aliens are to arrive and we have to tell them what exactly is an Indian woman, I think we would think of Madhuri Dixit as our representative. So I'm just lucky that she said yes. And she said yes at the word go. She heard the story of the film, she read the film, and she was on board. She was as sensitive and empathetic and as collaborative to the topic as I would have imagined anybody from her experience to be, and more. And she didn't have any problem challenging the image that she has of the Dag girl, and we've all grown up to her films, and we still love her in everything that she does. but she was very willing to challenge that, and she was very willing to uh, take this conversation into households which see her in a very different light. She wasn't scared of it, and that's fully her credit. Uh, the experience of working with Madhuri Dixit was like a school, because one learns how to be humble, one learns how to be professional, one learns a lot of skills. As an actor, I learned a lot from her, because the way she understands lensing and camera work and movement, to the way she emotes in a particular scene, the way she knows how a drama can be told uh, with the least amount of uh, you know exuberance and expressions, and can be said internally only through eyes, is something that I learned a lot, not just as a director but also as an actor observing her. And what was most amazing is that, we when we see films from the 90s and 80s and 2000s, where she did the bulk of her work, the kind of storytelling was very different, because you was largely saying it for a massive screen in a cinema hall, to when you say it to an audience that is watching it on Amazon Prime on their smart screens, and also an audience that is exposed largely to world cinema, if not just English cinema or English content from America and from Britain. They are now expecting people to uh, give you the subtext, not just the text. And she knows that instinctively. One doesn't need to, uh, you know, be in a position where an actor who has come from so much experience has a rigidity to change and become an actor of today. And she's as modern and as contemporary as any other actor that is in their 20s, like Ritvik or Shristi or Barka, right? So it was just most amazing. It was an amazing experience for me to see how she's so relevant in her mind, and she's still like a child. And uh, there is a very famous theater saying that if you can still remain a child, only then you can play, and only then you can be part of plays. And that's true for Madhuri Dixit. I think she's still like a child, excited to play different parts.
Was there ever a moment that you remember in your childhood where you felt like, okay, I want to become a filmmaker one day, or any movie that inspired?
I might have misunderstood your question, so I'll just repeat it. Was there ever a time where I felt, okay, this is why I want to be a filmmaker?
A moment where you felt like, okay, I want to become a filmmaker one
Yeah,
day.
I think there
Or
was. I could be romanticizing it, or maybe there was a moment like this. But I think very early in my childhood, uh, we used to have a black and white television, and Sundays, Doordarshan would show films of Bimal Roy and Guru Dutt and so on. And there were two films that had a very deep impact on me: Pyasa and Bimal Roy's Das. And I don't know why. My stories are nothing like those two, brilliantly tragic stories. Uh, but somewhere I wanted to engage in this magical world that makes me feel so much. And I had no clue of what a poet is, and what is depression, and what it is to be an alcoholic, what it is to fall in love with a woman so madly that you leave everything. I didn't understand those emotions, but somewhere deep within, I was moved by the pain these two grown-up men were going through. And even as a child, I was transfixed with that. And I hope in my storytelling, it makes people uh, forget that they're watching something, and they just even for a moment feel. That I think is the greatest joy of a maker. And yeah, but for me, those two things.
so also, you said somewhere that I don't want to become a voice in the cacophony.
Hmm.
So how do you make sure that distinctiveness remains in your work and it does not kind of overlap with what others are doing or might have done before?
So I feel it's like if I were a stand-up comic. The day they stop laughing at my jokes, I know my time's up. I think as a filmmaker, the day I feel that the relevance of my conversation isn't resonating as much, Like if I'm stuck with only the same old people who generally would like my content, say good things about my content, and not people who I meet on the street, uh, then I'd know my time is up as a as an active storyteller, and I can support younger voices, more relevant voices, and do that. But I don't take that as a given that I will be irrelevant or that I will be relevant. I keep myself real, and I try to when I travel away from Bombay, I always listen to people and listen to the kind of content they watch. A lot of them don't know who I am, so it's easy for me to converse with them. Some people do recognize me from my work, but I still try to, if I find that person interesting, I try to gusaw into their minds. I try to understand what makes them tick, because that is what is going to help me create my next piece of content.
Absolutely. Now, sir, we really miss your screen presence.
Hmm.
So, when will we see you acting? Like, will you be acting anytime soon? Any projects
Thank
lined
you.
up?
Thank you. So uh, I'm actually quite hopeful to do certain acting gigs in the coming year or so, because in the last 2 years I've been pretty busy with some of my directorial work, uh, and that has been very very lovely and exciting. Not that I miss acting, to be honest. I do not miss acting in front of the camera at all. I miss acting on stage. So in the coming year, I'm hoping, if at all it's possible, and my partner Amrit Pal Mitra is not listening to this interview, then maybe I would do a theatre piece where I can rehearse for 2 months and do a play that will travel and do a number of shows. So my theatrical satiation can happen at the same time as my cinematic hunger is being satisfied. So yeah, so that I'm really looking forward to. Having said that, I've always loved being in front of the camera as well, but that's not something that I miss. That's not something that I feel FOMO for. But theater, I do feel a little bit of FOMO.
So, no sequel of Goa Gone.
I'm hoping you must ask this to Dinesh Vijayan and
So, I
Raj
watched
Dixit.
your like interviews 3 years back also, and this response was same. Let's hope.
I know. The thing is, I think it's the beauty of Goga Gone is that every year on its anniversary, there are still so many comments on when is the next sequel coming. To posts of Bandish Bandits, to the posts of Majama, to the post of my wedding. I have only had when is Goga Gone 2 coming. So that love is just insane. I know a lot of people who watched that film multiple times. And I'm very happy if it has a sequel. I'm very happy to replay Bunny. I'm very happy if it doesn't happen, because it's such a special film for all of us, for Raj, DK, Kunal, Veer, and I especially, because there was just no expectation from that film. And we are very thankful that Seth and Dino at that time saw the mad vision that these guys had and actually backed the idea. But I don't think even they thought that the film would have such a cult following for so many years. It's been more than 10 years since that film came out.
Dialogues, especially.
And Kunal and Veer look the same. I have, by choice, kept myself grey so that people take me seriously on set as a director. Otherwise, actors don't take me seriously. So I've grown a nice grey beard, and so that they take me a little seriously. But yeah, I'm sure if we pick up the film from where we left it off, or pick it up 5 years later, I think it will get as much love. We should tell it well. Very happy. Please talk to Raj and DK and Deepo and make it happen.
Absolutely. So, I interviewed Ritvik a couple of months back.
Hmm.
So, he shared that, so regarding working with Naseeruddin Shah, sir, he said that it was like being in an acting school.
Huh.
So, and you have said somewhere that working with him, so Naseeruddin Shah is an institute of an actor.
Right.
So please share the experience of working with a
My,
veteran like him.
so my relationship with Naseer sir is of a guru and shishya, really, beyond a teacher and a student. And the difference I would say is that he's also given me a lot of life coaching apart from training me as a theater actor, because I've acted in his place. And I've acted with him in a film called Coffin Maker. And I've had the great fortune of just being around him quite a lot, apart from then eventually getting the opportunity of directing him in Bandish Bandits. So I have learned uh, the absolute thorough passion that he has for the craft of acting or for the craft of storytelling is fully acquired from Naseer sir. Before that, I thought I was passionate, but it's only after meeting him and after working with him, I understood to what extent you need to be committed and devoted to your art form to really create something of anything worth. So I really think of him as my guru, as my uh, as somebody that I look up to almost as I would look up to my father. Ratna Pathak and Naseer sir have been really like my guru parents. जैसे पुराने ज़माने में they would always have you would talk about your biological parents and your guru parents. So these two have always been my guru parents. So the less I say, the better we can do a full interview about what I think of Naseer sir. But I'll tell you one thing that I haven't ever met a human being who is, and I've worked with some very big national and international names. I haven't met a human being who's as devoted to his craft as Naseer.
So, sir, actually, we're up towards the end of our interview. So, my
Yes.
last question actually would be, you come from a very non-filmy background, right? And there's a lot of conversation going around these days about nepotism.
Right.
And, a lot of that conversation actually just revolves around actors.
Mm.
But I want to know from you, how difficult is it, for an aspiring director to break into the Hindi film industry and rope in producers?
Sure. So I'll answer that in two parts. Let's talk about nepotism first. Uh, if I continued on the same path as my parents would have liked, I would have become a doctor because my father is a doctor, my brother is a doctor. So I would have been a nepotistic child with a clinic waiting for me, with a huge ass institute that my father has left behind, which does amazing work and trust in the field of medical science and social work. I would have done that. I would have been already given a pedestal over and above a lot of people that would have been more, deserving than me. That was waiting for me as an opportunity. I've seen that in n number of businesses and professions in India, and I have seen the kind of advantage doctors have if their fathers were doctors because patients trust कि ये फला डॉक्टर तिवारी का लड़का है तो अच्छा ही डॉक्टर होगा ये मुझे मिलता तो मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है किसी भी प्रोफेशन में नॉट जस्ट इन द फील्ड ऑफ एक्टिंग और डायरेक्शन और हिंदी सिनेमा जहां पर ये हो आपका जो बिजनेस है जर्नलिज्म का कितने लोग हैं जो नेपोटिस्टिक है ना जिनके पेरेंट्स जर्नलिज्म में थे वो कुछ जर्नलिज्म में आ गए मैं तो कहता हूँ बहुत अच्छी बात है क्योंकि क्या होता है आप कोई एक आर्ट फॉर्म या कोई एक प्रोफेशन या कोई एक बिजनेस के आसपास जब होते हो बहुत बचपन से आपको समझ में आते हैं उसके तौर तरीके उसके ट्रायल्स एंड ट्रिबुलेशंस उसके एक्सपेक्टेशंस इनफैक्ट सम ऑफ द पीपल इन द इंडस्ट्री who are the most conscientious about how they are supposed to behave on a set are people who come from film families because they've seen the ups and downs of their own parents. So even if they've reached the zenith of their stardom, they are the most well behaved and the most humble people that will come across to some people who get stardom when they don't have a cinema background. And I do not I do not put that against the people who find stardom on the world go either because they don't know how else to react. If suddenly people are fussing around you and giving you so much of importance, you don't know what to do. It's human to go bow into it. People who come from that lineage and legacy understand that this is just going to last for a few years, and then somebody else will take your spot. So they remain humble. So I have no problem with nepotism. I have zero problem because that's if that is a problem, that is the problem of this nation. So top down, we will have to start, and I don't think it's a problem. I don't see why you cannot do the profession that your parents did. Three generations ago, my forefathers were farmers for many generations. Few generations I have no, rightful knowledge of. But nobody questioned them why you're being. So I don't know why this has become such a, and it's gone out of fashion almost to now talk about it. So that's that. Speaking about being a director today, I feel it's the easiest time to be a director from all that I've heard from my seniors, whether it is Anurag Basu, Anurag Kashyap, Imtiaz Ali, Dibakar Banerjee, Raj and DK, or the generation before that, you know, they had a very, very long road to making their own stories. They had to assist for years and years and years. Bimal Roy was a DOP for the longest time before he told his first story. So many people assisted Ray before they made their first story. So many people like Anurag Basu was a focus puller for somebody, was an assistant, was many other things, and he should talk about it more than I do. Before he got the chance of making his first film, what did I do? I acted in some films. I was a celebrity AD on Barfi, where I was treated really like a celebrity more than an AD by Anurag Basu. He was very biased to me. And then I made my first film. So the privilege that I had today, and the kind of makers that we are backing now, if you are a storyteller today, if you have a script, and if it's a damn good script, and you tell a production house or a platform that I want to direct this, I am guaranteeing you that they will create a team around you to make sure that you don't fuck up your own idea. Because there is such a hunger for good content that people are ready to give. You look at the data of first time filmmakers in the last 3 years, and before. So in fact, it's so much more easier now to be a director or a writer. But you have to write. The unfortunate part is today people don't want to do the hard miles, and after one stint with a writer, want to call themselves a director. After one stint as an intern on a film, want to be the chief AD of the next film or the director of the next film, which is also possible, but you have to have something really damn good to say. So hard work and finesse and good quality is not negotiable. You cannot substitute that and say I don't want to work hard, I don't want to say good stories, but I still want an opportunity, because that unfortunately there is no.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. Your inputs were really, really insightful. It was really
Thank
fun
you,
talking to you.
thank you so much, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Hopefully we'll
much,
talk
sir.
soon on more things.
On?
On more things, I said.
Yes, sir, sure. Yeah, we're really waiting for that.
We'll wait and talk for very, very soon. Thank you so much for this. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
All the
much,
best.
sir.